All right, so this week we are talking about a little bitty thing. This is not going to be a long video, but this is a Galaxie specific. We got in our trim piece from the guys at Autocrafters, and I know this car is not exactly what I would call a prime example for a brand new trim set for this on the back of the deck lid and the end pieces. But what I want to do is show you how to remove this stuff and then also go into some issues that brand new can cause on a car. We'll show you that at the very end of the video. But stick around, we're going to be talking about that in just a second.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxie, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, one of the first things I'm going to show you is how to remove this small trim piece from the back of the car, because there is nothing quote-unquote holding it in place but tension. And what I'll do, especially if I'm not working on a brand new car, is I'll go in and I'll use a screwdriver and peel that inside edge, because this is only held in with studs and what we call barrel clips. Now, were this a clean painted car, I would not use a screwdriver, because if you use a screwdriver once, you can stand to damage the paint around these outside edges. But since this is an older car with bad paint, I'm not worried about it. And basically that's it. Sometimes you can have the pins bust apart like this one. The pin popped off of it. But I mean, let's face it, if you look at this, and we'll go inside and look at this as opposed to the brand new ones, you'll see that this is not in the best of shape. So I'm not going to worry about trying to keep this. And then the barrels that are in here, typically the new ones will come with brand new barrels, so you'll be able to replace those as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to take the ones off of the original deck lids on this car, because I've already removed them from here, but I want to show you the fasteners and how to remove that piece. It's really easy. So the trim piece across the back of the deck lid at the base of the deck lid is held on with 6 screws that space out across the back. Those are removed with a 3/8 inch nut driver or combination wrench, or however you want to do it. What I find on a lot of these is they will just be trashed out, and when you start trying to take them off, they'll just spin out and you won't be able to remove the fasteners, but that's because the clips inside are spinning over on themselves. I'll show you what I'm talking about on the brand new clips that we have with the new trim piece that I've got inside the shop. We're going to go in and talk about that right now. All right, so one of the first things I want to talk about is this right here. This is the packaging that the guys at Autocrafters use to send this thing to me. This is typical for them probably for this kind of thing, because we all know that our friends in shipping sometimes can be a little brutal when things are leaving the shop before they get here. There's that point in the middle where things can be nasty. This is actually some, I believe it's PVC. Yes, PVC pipe, and the stuff is inside of here. So let me, already taken this out once to look and make sure everything was okay. Always check your parts when they come in to make sure that everything inside of there is copacetic. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the fasteners so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about with the problem with the other ones with rust. These are actually pretty much absolutely correct. I'll give them a correct on this. All right, now this is your clip. This is the clips that you'll use inside of your brand new piece. You can also get these separately, I think, from the guys at Autocrafters. But they do come with the kit. When you get the trim piece, you get these as well. I've never run across a Galaxie deck lid where these were all in really nice shape. And a lot of times what guys will do is when these break, these little shaft sections here, and they will break from being in the muck and stuff inside of these channels, dirt from washing the car and everything goes down in there, these will tend to go away. They'll just take and turn these over without the clip in there so that they're holding the trim piece in place, something like that. And then eventually those will go away too. The next thing I want to show you is the new trim piece on the ends. These are really nice too. These are compared to the originals on this car especially, are beautiful. This is the stuff for the ends. and not a lot of difference in them. I mean, what I find interesting here is the sides and stuff on the new piece are actually smoother than the originals from Ford. There is a kerf right here, probably from where it was originally cast, and this one doesn't have that, which, you know, how far do you want to go in your quest for originality? I don't mind that that's missing off of here. So we're going to set these aside. That's really nice. And I'm going to pull out the container that actually holds the aluminum trim and take this off of the end of it. Pop that out. Nicely inside of that. It is in plastic. Keeps it in good shape. Unwrap it. And use my old man pocket knife. Sorry, Bill Rodishin, I have further marked your fine work on my tabletop that you've done. Now, let's look at some differences here. This, this is the original, and that is the reproduction. Distances are good, the same length, same little cove in it on this one. It's a beautiful piece, and it replaces this quite nicely. This one, on these I find a lot of times on the Galaxies, these are just chewed up. They'll have nicks and stuff in them from people opening the deck lid or trunk lid with, you know, stuff in their hands to put inside the car. Keys will mark them up, and you put this on here and it's going to look Mac Daddy. Now in a minute I'm going to go out and I'm going to show you how this piece can actually be a problem. But it's not the problem you might be thinking. All right, now one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my new shinies aside, set them off a little bit, and I am going to talk to you about ways to make this piece look better. Are you going to make it look a lot better? No, you are not. But there's two items that I will use to try to reconstitute them to a degree. One of them is a product I've talked about in another episode on the deck lid, trunk lid, and that was the Autosol metal polish product. It's German, so you know, like I said before, the Germans they make good stuff. And the Autosol is nice because you can take this and put it on here and pick up the finish a little bit. Now, because this is an anodized piece, you are not going to see the same productivity from the Autosol that you see with it on stainless. Stainless is much better for this. And it will also start to show you every one of those scratches that I talked about from the previous owners. It's a little hard to see on camera probably, but there is still a great deal of modeling in the anodizing on this piece. You're not going to get rid of that unless you take this thing, go all the way back down to the native aluminum, get rid of the anodizing, and polish up the aluminum. It's the only way you're going to get rid of it. And then it will actually be a lot more mirror than it probably was originally. So you're going to have that as an issue. Another product that you can use is Gibbs oil. Oddly enough, this stuff works pretty well to do the same thing. It'll last for about a car show. If you want to put this on your classic car to make your aluminum bright work look better with the anodizing, Gibbs is one way to do that because it'll just clean it up and make it look pretty nice. Just a dab of do-ya on a cloth, and I'll move down here. And for about one car show, your Gibbs oil will make it shiny again. Now, what I've got here is I'm making this really simple for you guys. Over here to my left, I've got the one where we put the Gibbs oil on it a couple of days ago. I have the one where the Gibbs oil is very fresh. We just applied it seconds ago. That also in combination with the Autosol rub. And then the final bottom one is nothing at all. We've done nothing to it. So you can see down on the bottom one how nasty this stuff looks. The Gibbs oil does improve things. It's just not a long-term solution. The best long-term solution, in my opinion, just replace it. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about are these two end trim pieces. They are side specific to the car. This one here, where it bevels to the outside and is thicker to the inside, the thicker side goes toward the deck lid on the car. So you have a right and a left on the car, and they're held in with these very tiny little barrel, what we call a barrel nut. And you'll see that it's shouldered. Those actually go in from the outside of the car. You'll push those into the sheet metal, and then these will ride on those to hold them in place. So that's basically it. This goes in just like that. Make sure you check it out before you try installing these, because if you install them wrong, you're not going to have a good time trying to get them back out, because a lot of times, like we did on the other ones, you'll bust them. Now I'm going to take all this stuff out there and install the trim piece so you guys can see how it looks on the back of the car, and point out one little caveat that I find happens to me whenever I buy new trim stuff. All right, so I have put the molding on the deck lid here. This is about where it's going to need to sit. I'm only hand tightening these. I'm not actually putting them on for permanent. If you were to put this on for permanent, what you want to do is put a little bit of strip caulk around the base of the screw that goes into the deck lid to keep water from cascading inside of the deck lid. That's what Ford did. I'm not necessarily saying you have to do that. This actually doesn't fit right down to the very bottom edge of the deck lid. You'll see a little bit of color along the bottom of here when you finally set this thing in. But that's how it goes. Now the next thing I want to talk about is not an indictment of anything or anybody. It's just the while we're here that can nab you on something like this. You've gone and replaced this with a bright, shiny, beautiful new piece of anodized aluminum. You shut the deck lid, and the rest of it looks like trash now. So you should probably just think about going ahead and buying the taillight bezels, the panel across the back here, a brand new 500, and some new Galaxie deck lid letters, because all this back here, and a new bumper too, because all this back here is going to look like trash next to that new trim piece. So anytime you do something like this, when you're installing a trim, that's going to be a consideration. Do you want to go in and do all this work and not go ahead and spend the money to do the rest of it, because it's going to cost a lot to try to bring all this back in either time or money if you take the original pieces and try to bring them back to new. All right, folks, that's all we have time for this week. Next, we're going to be coming back with something pretty darn cool, and that is the brand new hood from the guys at AMD and Autocrafters that we're going to be installing on our 69 Fairlane wagon to show you how it fits, make sure it works out the way it's supposed to, kind of like we did with this trim piece on the back of our Galaxie. But in the meantime, join Patreon. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me where we do tech talk. We have a good time. It's a really enjoyable thing for everybody. We're also going to start doing some giveaways. We're going to be giving away coffee cups, t-shirts. We're going to be giving away doodles that I do of your car if you win the little raffle that we do for that week. So be sure to check that out, and we'll make more available as information. If you go in and join up on Patreon, you'll get a little information about how that works, okay? Okay. Now what I'm going to talk about is super thanks. You have now an idea what it feels like to be in a mobster's trunk, because that's what these things would be good for, is if you wanted to be like a mobster and, like, you know, put somebody in the trunk. There you go. But super thanks is what we're here to talk about, not mobsters. If you want to give us a one-time gift to say thank you for something we've done for you within the show, this is a great way to do it, because super thanks goes to us. They only take a little bit of money out, and all of this is going, including Patreon, to help me pay Darren to come in here and help me work on the edits and do video production during the week. Like, we're shooting this on a weekday, not like we typically do with the kids and working on the weekends. So this is a great way for you to say one-time thanks of, hey, I appreciate what you do for me because you've really helped me with my classic car. So do that, and then we'll put your name down here. If you're above the $5 level, you get your name and lights-ish. We'll use up a little bit of your 15 minutes of fame, but not a whole lot. So keep that in your mind. Folks, do me a favor. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road. I want to finish this thing, but there's so much to finish. It's like you go in, and in anything, little thing you do, you just start finding more. Like, the drip rails are okay in this, but there's places that they need to be repaired. I don't know if I should do a video. Leave a comment in the section below if you want to see me repair the drip rails. I really don't want to, but for you guys, I will repair drip rails, because that's the kind of guy I am. Bye.